Hello everyone, my name is Sagarika. I am an SD3 at Fynd. Today, what we're going to do is going to be exploring some interesting artificial intelligence tools so that we can understand how to leverage it better for our coding purposes. Since the inception of ChatGPT, one of the things that we have kind of realized is that this can literally, be world changing. So it is important for us as developers and future developers to actually understand this tool and understand how we can leverage it better and not be left behind in the trend. So let's go ahead with our first time. So this is basically what our introduction will be. We'll be primarily looking at ChatGPT and what is that all about. But there are a lot of other tools in the market that you can also explore. Let's go ahead. So one of the things that why are we doing this, right? That becomes very important कि हम लोग ये कर ही क्यों रहे हैं, हम लोग क्यों सीख रहे हैं. तो अगर हम देखेंगे नंबर्स को तो देर इज अ सिग्निफिकेंट इंक्रीज इन द हाउ फास्ट डेवलपर्स आर कोडिंग. यू फील मोर फुलफिल्ड एंड 46% ऑफ द कोड अगर आप AI को यूज कर रहे हो तो इट कैन बी रिटन बाय द AI. सो दैट काइंड ऑफ गिव्स यू मोर टाइम to actually focus on logic, business logic, rather than worrying about things like syntax और ये कैसे करेंगे वो कैसे करेंगे. And also it acts like a great buddy, sometimes कि आपको कैसे करना है क्या करना है. It kind of gives you some prompts, gives you some suggestions जो probably आपने सोचे भी नहीं होंगे. तो that becomes a great starting off point for you also. Okay, let's go ahead. So now we're at OpenAI. Now the most important thing is कि OpenAI which is ChatGPT, obviously. Now with ChatGPT, सबसे important क्या होता है? Whenever we start, it is to understand कि where do we start from. So always you have that ChatGPT पे आप जाइए and you start with your, you start talking to the model. Now there are a lot of alternatives that you can actually explore. One is ChatGPT Plus, which is the paid model of ChatGPT. You can also look at other models. So instead of directly talking to the ChatGPT user interface, there is also a platform UI. उसमें क्या होता है कि you can actually go there and talk to different models. Then you can experiment a little bit. So if you want to be थोड़ा, अगर आपको थोड़ा जुगाड़ करना है, you want to try more things. जैसे for example, ChatGPT has 3.5 has a मॉडल जिसमें 16,000 टोकन मतलब there is like almost 4 times more information it can retain than ChatGPT does. So that kind of benefit you get with exploring the playground. Okay, let's have a look at where you can get actually the playground. So this is your normal ChatGPT. Now let's look at where is the playground. So if you go to playground.openai, so this is the playground. Here in the playground, if you'll see, you can actually explore other models. So there is 4, 3.5, 3.5 turbo, 16K. So the 16K model actually means zyada information it can maintain for you. So there is not always only one place that you can work with. There are multiple avenues that you can explore. Okay. Now let's talk about some of the advantages. सबसे best तो ChatGPT understands a lot of things. मतलब it has a world know-how. ठीक है. So non-coding related information भी इसके पास रहती है. It knows about a lot of information that it does. So there is obviously a cutoff. It will not always have the latest news, but it knows a lot about the world. So कैसे चलता है? What is basically, if you say कि मुझे एक toll system बनाना है, for example, तो इट नोज कि टोल के क्या कॉन्फ़िगरेशन होता है. एक टोल में गाड़ियां आती हैं, 4 व्हीलर आती है, 2 व्हीलर आती है. ऑल दिस इंफॉर्मेशन इट हैज. सो इट विल हेल्प यू टू मेक योर सॉल्यूशंस बेटर. एंड ऑल्सो इट कैन help you with different languages. What are the pros, what are the cons, because it has the entire information of the internet. So basically it knows a lot of things, so you can actually leverage it to optimize things and do those things. ठीक है. There are a lot of ChatGPT plugins जो आपके VS Code, wherein the places where you code, it is already there inside that. So you can have plugins while you're coding. You can have a plugin running on the side which is working with you. So while you're working, while you're writing your code, right hand side mein you have a plugin which is giving you suggestions. You can talk to that plugin in the side, you can ask questions, copy paste karke. So that kind of is great. So right now with this revolution in AI coming in, it's everywhere. तो आप कहीं पे भी जाके कहीं पे भी you can use it in a better way. Okay, let's look at some examples now. We'll move on to the examples. So सबसे important example is learning and understanding a new language. This is the most important examples I think for fairly newer developers. So बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि companies आती हैं, there is new language, there's something you're learning completely new from the scratch. So in that case, ChatGPT is the best. You can start with something simple as tell me how to write for loop. So this is the basic thing, right? जब हम शुरू करते हैं किसी भी language, for loop in Scala, right? I don't know Scala, but we'll ask OpenAI because OpenAI would know. So can be used in different ways, वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह, for simple iteration, and then it will also make sure to give you an example. तो आपको बताएगा exactly कैसे चलते हैं कि it will give you an example, it will try to explain the entire concept to you, and you can go on and on and on. You can even give it a specific problem statement. So जैसे for example, इसको हम stop कर देते हैं अभी, मैं इसको बोलती हूँ कि I have a list and from that list I want to extract all the people whose age is over 20, right? So if I say list of people, write me code for extracting list of people whose age is over 20, where list is consisting of objects with name, address and age, for example. So यहाँ पे तो मैंने इसको बहुत ही vague question दिया, but आप actually क्या कर सकते हो? You can actually take that person का information and give it to it. So अभी in this case, if you see, so it is giving me my answer in Scala, but it is giving me the exact answer that I want. So it created a sample list for you. Now it is writing the code to create it, and it is making sure कि if people की age is over 20, तो फिर वो yield कर रहा है उस person को, and then it is printing that entire list, and it is also showing you the sample output. So आप मतलब you can always check this on the internet, but with OpenAI it makes sure to give you all details. So अब जैसे for example, I can obviously find this on a tutorial or on Stack Overflow, but what is the benefit that I'm getting here, right? तो one of the benefits is मैं इसको बोल सकती हूँ अच्छा मुझे और भी कुछ करना है, मुझे I want also add a filter for name equal to Alice. तो मैं बोलूँगी इसमें एक और मुझे फिल्टर ऐड करना है. So now what I'm doing is I want कि मेरे हिसाब से इसको change करो, change it. So that way what ChatGPT will change the code according to you. So that way you can actually try new things, right? Let's have a look at another example that we have, right? What is the next example that we need to look at? So here if you see, इसने person.name equal to Alice कर दिया और फिर printed list filter कर दिया. Okay. So next thing is obviously generating code. We saw a few generating code. Now comes the difficult part. As a junior engineer, and when you start off, it is very difficult to understand new written code. You don't even understand कि लोग ठीक है उन्होंने लिखा कोड आपको समझ में आ गया, बट उन्होंने ऐसा क्यों लिखा है ये भी समझना is a very important aspect of coding, right? So for example, अगर हम एक कोई open source library देखते हैं, right? So now what we'll do is we'll try to, like, there is obviously in JavaScript world there is Express.js. Okay, so that is a interesting library. Now how do I use it? अभी यहाँ पे it has given me कि you can create an Express server. It basically launches a server for you, right? Now what I want to do is I want to understand something, right? कि this much is fine. It has created a server for me. Now what is next, right? So once I have my Express.js code in, what if I want to understand a particular example that it has given me? So for example, इन्होंने एक error handling का example दिया मुझे, right? We'll have a look at it. So this is the example. What it does is कि ये dev के हिसाब से print करता है if test console error dot stack console stack कर रहा है, and it has given me some examples of app.get, app.next, कुछ उसने किया है. Now I really don't understand this, so let's have a look. Let's have a look at what ChatGPT has to say about this, right? Explain this code to me. So I'll just copy paste the code and ask it to explain that part of the code to me, right? Certainly. So it's basically dividing the code into different modules where it is telling you ki what is the purpose of each and every part of the code base, right? Now here what is happening is कि वो बता रहा है कि logger use किया है, app is initialized, test. What is the middleware configuration, right? So it is telling कि middleware के configurations क्या हैं. But probably okay, and then it's showing you कि error उन्होंने कैसे handle किया है. So it's showing you कि custom error handler लिखा है, and that's what this example is all about. So if I say कि what is a middleware, for example मुझे नहीं पता middleware क्या होता है. So what is a middleware? So it will go further into explaining what is a middleware. So it's telling you very clearly कि middleware is something that has access to request and response object, and it can actually change it, right? So it's giving you like a detailed answer कि client को request करता है, पहले middleware call होते हैं और फिर finally वो response के पास जाता है. So that way you can actually change things in the middle before it goes to your middle routes and everything. A middleware can be added in the middle or in the end, so that you can actually modify things as per you. So for example, अब ये तो मैं समझ गई कि ठीक है, what is a middleware. Now it is telling me actually what are the different types of middleware. So this I understood कि middleware होता है, but why should I use middleware? मेरे को क्या मालूम? So I'll just ask OpenAI. Reusability, modularity. So it goes into explanation, and you can keep asking this. So what is happening here is that, okay, fine, I look at some documentation, I look at a tutorial, I look at all that, but what if I still don't understand? With OpenAI, you can actually keep asking questions. नहीं समझ में आ रहा है और पूछो. Ask for examples. Ask it कि अगर ऐसा होता तो क्या मुझे मिडलवेयर में कोड डालना चाहिए या फिर मेरे राउट्स में होना चाहिए. How does it work? What is it all about? So you can do all those things. Now let's have a look at another example. So one of the things that is important in our previous example is select and pass context, which is what we discussed. कि आप जब भी कोई भी कोड को पूछते हो, like for example जब हमने explain किया, so what we did was we went to that repository, copied that code and gave it to it. So that is very important that you give it some context. For example, अभी मैं उसको बोलूँ कि write me code for creating Fibonacci series. वो Fibonacci series का code मुझे लिख देगा, but probably I don't want that code in the language it is giving me. By default, mostly it will give me the answer in Python, but maybe I don't want the answer in Python. I want it in JavaScript. So I need to tell it कि write me Fibonacci series code in Python. If I say कि मुझे एक route का code लिख के दो, so I'll say write me route code using Express.js, using Nest.js, or using some other framework, right? Or if I want to call an API. So I need to have awareness. If I want something specific, I need to tell it so that it will modify the answer according to the context, right? You can also give bigger context. For example, there is already some code written somewhere and you want to extend it, expand on it, anything like that. So you need to inform it कि ये already exist करता है, अब इसके ऊपर मुझे कुछ बना के दो. For example, जैसे कि let's have a look at a thing. जैसे कि मेरे पास एक already I have some code written somewhere, right? जैसे in my case, this is my VS Code. In this VS Code, I will open a folder, right? And I will open my I'll open this folder, yeah. So I've opened this folder. Now this repository already exists. There's this layer of service जो सारा business logic करती है. अब मुझे क्या करना है इस service के ऊपर I just want to put some routes on top of it so that you know UI can access it. So now if I say कि task service के ऊपर controller बना दो या routes बना दो, it will not be able to do it. But if I just copy paste this and give it to GPT and tell it to do it, it will be able to do it for me. So I say write controller on top of the following. So certainly. So now because I've given it context, so it understands this is written in a particular framework, which is Nest.js. So it can, accordingly generate code for me. Okay, we'll not wait for it. It's going to be like a long code base that it will generate for us. So we'll not be going into the depth of that, right? Now let's have a look at what is our next example that we were looking at. Right. Now let's talk about unfamiliar territory, chat copilot, solve problem, run test. Okay. So now all of this is done and dusted. Now what happens is a lot of times is कि you need to solve particular problems, right? And for example, मैंने यहाँ पे कुछ तो उड़ा दिया, right? And here in this case, nothing is happening. But let me show you. जैसे मैंने ये delete कर दिया, right? So now I'm getting a red error. Now a lot of times this happens is कि you can see कि error आ रहा है, ठीक है? आपने उसके ऊपर hover किया, probably ID आपको बता भी रहा है कि कुछ तो गड़बड़ कर दिया, and you have no idea कि क्या गड़बड़ हुई है. Something or the other is failing. You don't know what is failing. So it's very easy. You can just take that code. ठीक है, मैंने ये copy किया और मैंने बोला कि मुझे ये गड़बड़ हो रही है, राइट? सो फर्स्ट यू ऑल्सो नीड टू टेल कि मेरे को आईडी नहीं क्या बताया, तो आईडी ने मुझे बोला अनडिटरमाइंड स्ट्रिंग लिटरल है. सो मैंने बोला आई एम गेटिंग एरर इन माय आईडी फॉर दिस एंड आई से दिस इज माय एरर मैसेज, राइट? थोड़ा बहुत स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक होता है तो चलता है, दैट मच इट कैन अंडरस्टैंड. जैसे ह्यूमन बींग्स अंडरस्टैंड स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक थोड़ा बहुत, वो भी समझ जाता है. So the error is due to the fact that streaming for error message start date should be in the future. तो ये properly code मुझे correct करके दे देता है. So that way it becomes easier for me. I can just copy paste it. Yeah, my problem is solved. So I don't have to get into the ifs and buts of it कि क्या हुआ, क्यों हुआ. So those kind of, and it's important to obviously understand कि उसने कैसे solve किया है. ऐसा नहीं है कि वो solve करते जा रहे आप कुछ नहीं कर रहे. You have to understand, but it's good because you're not stuck on something for a long time. A lot of times when you're learning something new, you get stuck, and you get stuck for hours on small problems. With OpenAI, you can ask it and it will actually help you understand. So it's not just giving you the solution. If you look here in our problem statement, उसने सिर्फ आपको answer नहीं दिया. It also told you कि ये क्या है, what are the details. So those are important facts that as a new person you need to understand also. So it's not कि solution मिल गया खत्म हो गई बात, right? Now let's look at, so these are basic problems. Some tips. One of the main tip is that always try to keep it short. The shorter your outputs, the better answers you will get. If you try to give it like कुछ बहुत बड़ा and you say कि मुझे ऐसा भी बना दो, वो भी बना दो, write me the entire code base, it will not be able to do it because there are limitations, right? अगर इतना easy होता तो फिर अभी तक developers replace हो चुके होते, but हम हुए नहीं हैं अभी तक. So that's why it's important कि हम लोग you keep it short because it may not be able to process very longer outputs. So even if you have to do some complicated problem statement you have to solve, do it in steps. बोलो कि मेरा step 1, step 2, step 3, I want to do this first, then this, then this. Then it can do it iteratively, right? You can have a conversation and get it to solve your problem. That will give you much better answers rather than you telling it कि पूरा का पूरा file बना दो, पूरा service लिख दो. That's never going to give you good answers. Second thing is very important, जो right hand side में दिख रहा है. So whenever there are a lot of tools, right, which we spoke about earlier. जैसे कि copilot.live is a VS Code extension within your VS Code ID. Now, with these tools is what happens is they give you a lot of shortcuts. It's important to understand the shortcuts. As a developer, it is anyways important कि किसी भी ID के shortcuts पता हो. But even these tools, they have their shortcuts, so they make coding much faster. So learn the shortcuts. That's very important. Second thing we already covered, you need to give context. Third thing is examples. So examples is also very essential. So context के साथ साथ अगर आप examples देते हो तो it gives you much better answers because examples is something what OpenAI was initially trained on. Like when you tune a model and do all those things, तो आप उसको examples देते हैं, बोलते हैं कि this is the correct answer, this is the incorrect answer, that kind of a thing. So with examples you're kind of doing that with it. So जैसे for example यहाँ पे हमने एक option there's a picture on the bottom. It says कि map through an array of arrays of an object and extract names from that data. And then I'm giving clearly कि ये मेरा desired output है, John, Jane and Bob. So this way it's able to give me the correct answer. Earlier, इसके पहले वाला जो problem statement था उसमें I just said map through an array of objects, extract names from the data array. So in sometimes it's not able to give me exactly the answer I want. It could actually output me, instead of me getting in John, Jane and Bob, I could get name colon, मतलब an array of objects instead of actually getting the names. So these kind of problems come because it is confusion, right? You talk to a human being, a human being could also get confused. Similarly, OpenAI can also get confused. So example is the perfect way. आप example बोल दो कि मेरे को ऐसा चाहिए, तो सीधा आउटपुट ओरिएंटेड यू से कि मेरे को ऐसा ही आंसर चाहिए, तो वो वैसा का वैसा ही आपको आंसर लिख के देगा. Okay. Number 4, which is very difficult for all developers, it seems, is using good coding practices. It's very important. Even when you're giving context, you're giving example, anything, try to use the correct variable names. अगर आप बोलोगे कि write a cron p और आपने बोल दिया p, अब उसको कैसे समझ में आएगा p का मतलब क्या है? वो तो बस कुछ assume कर देगा. So it's important to use the right words. If you're using random words, you're saying a equal to b, a plus b equal to c, that will never work, because it is not going to understand what you're trying to do, what is your problem statement, what is your business logic all about. It will just try to give you some generic उल्टा सीधा आंसर, and then you will feel कि ये तो कोई point ही नहीं है, मैं तो खुद ही कर लूंगा. But ऐसा नहीं. You need to understand how to use it, and that's why these kind of things are very important. It's similar to how you're working with another developer. Same. It's the same thing. They are no different, right? Okay. Now we are kind of coming to the end. Okay. One of the things which is very, very important, ठीक है, always test and review your code, ठीक है, no matter what happens. It is very important क्योंकि जो ChatGPT आपको code देता है, it's not always pre-tested, ठीक है. That code may it knows about all the code on the internet, but ये नहीं है कि उधर से जाके copy paste करके आपको आंसर दे रहा है. It actually synthesizes the code. So तभी का तभी वो बनाता है वो code. It has that information, it has that knowledge, but उधर से copy paste करके आपको आंसर नहीं दे रहा है. So code will be wrong, the code will not, maybe the code will compile, but if the code compiles also zaruri nahi it will give you the right output. Like for example in this particular thing we had told कि ice cream code with ice cream using some library, okay, p5.js करके कोई library कुछ use करके बना दो. अब ChatGPT not able to make ice cream की picture, it is actually making a dartboard which is like an inverted ice cream. So these kind of things happen. It will give you wrong code. You can always go back and tell कि नहीं ये गलत है, correct it. It will correct it, give you a better answer. Definitely, it will do all those things. But for you, it is very important कि you review your code and you test the code. ऐसा नहीं कि उसने दे दिया तो एकदम correct है. Same thing with what we do with internet code, which a lot of us do. We go Stack Overflow से लेते copy paste. No, that will never work. Always copy paste, but always understand what is being written. Review करो, test करो. नहीं तो you'll have a lot of junk code being generated and it will not work, and you will not even be able to solve it because you have not written the code. ChatGPT has written. So then you are back to ChatGPT कि मेरा problem solve करो, which obviously you don't want to be in that situation, right? Yeah. So I hope that this is our last slide. So I hope that you guys have understood what we are trying to help you understand. But basically, what we want is कि in your arsenal as a developer, as a new developer, as an engineer, you have one more tool in your arsenal. So just like you have the internet, you're looking at different books and you have learned from your seniors, whatever, all of that. उसके साथ you have one more option which will help you become a better engineer, which will help you solve problems faster and will help you learn also much faster. Like as me individually also, when I started with OpenAI, I learned a lot of new languages, was able to do a lot of new things, which would have taken me much more time if I would have just done it, the old-fashioned way. So it is a great tool in your arsenal, so do explore it. For more such content, please subscribe to Fynd Academy, like this video, share it with your friends, and we really want to see your comments as well.